tuned into Thorough Black Talk with Tad, Keisha, and Ashe. Every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Don't forget about our sister station, Constructive Talk Radio, Tuesdays, 8 to 10 p.m.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with Brother Taz, Sister Keisha, and Brother Ashe SJ. Tonight, family, we got a great program for you this evening. In light of all of the recent developments with the national political race for presidency right now. You know, so many people saying so many things. You have people warring with each other. People are going at it with family members and the like. And still, as of 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we still do not have a selected president. But, you know, as my brother, shout out to him, Darren Muhammad, said, this thing might go all the way to December 14th when the Electoral College meets and decides who will be the winner. You have a lot of protests that have been happening, a lot of threats as well. You have different protesting groups who are going at each other in the streets. You have what do you call these standing armies in the states? You and I will normally call them police on standby who are waiting, anticipating an uprising, no matter who is selected to be the United States president. But, you know, as we've said here on this program since our inception, is one of the things that is most needed in our community is a political education. And this is something that you cannot get on a one-time basis. This is something that is going to take a while because the majority of voters are over the age of 25. And being over the age of 25 and still not having a full grasp of what politics is, how do we fit in all of this, if we can change anything, and if so, what route should we take? So tonight I'm excited to have our guest, filmmaker, activist out of Philadelphia. Shout out to Philly, all my Philadelphians in the house. Shout out to you. But we have tonight brother Omawale AfriKa, who just released the docu-film An Un-American Dilemma. So I can't wait to discuss these things with him, because if you have not seen it, this is a documentary you want to see. I actually rented it a few days ago, but I think I'm going to purchase it because I am a researcher, and it is within my best interest and yours that I keep all information that is given to me. And so when someone like Brother Omawale can compact it in less than 2 hours for you, that's a great source of research. So I'm going to actually end up purchasing that. So my brother Tad.
Yes, sis. Yes.
Better days ahead. Fitness, I see you. Keep doing your thing. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you.
You know, it's a challenge, but you know, we got to press forward. You know, new level, new devil. You know, so I'm just organizing behind the scenes to really develop the business to be what I know it can be, what it has the potential to be, to compete with the big box brands like Blink and Crunch and all these other places. You know, so I mean, I just want to sell our people health and wellness. You know, as we talk about the political climate right now, even outside right now, here in Bed-Stuy on Grand Avenue, you got the standing army just out there. You got 5 vans, a couple of explorers, and a bunch of foot soldiers just posted up out there. I guess in the event anything happens, you know, but I doubt the militia will come to this side of Bed-Stuy with that foolishness, you know. Those
They know better.
Yeah, about to say, those gentrifiers, you still got the original element here that just waiting for a reason to bust an head. So, you know, but other than that, all is calm on the home front. You know, I see you made your debut in the music video, you know, Resistant. That was a good look. It's like, look at Sister Keisha, that's right. Bump
You
Trump.
won't believe how many takes I had to do just to do those 2 quick shots. It's crazy. It's
But it's
crazy,
so
but
good.
it's good though.
Yeah, so we gonna constantly represent, and I look forward to the brother Omawale AfriKa coming through. Telling us more about the film, because my intentions was to rent it throughout the week, but I've been so busy and doing so much that it's hard pressed to really sit down. So maybe this weekend I might have the chance to sit down for a couple of hours and watch it. Because believe it or not, sis, most of the videos I watch and lectures I listen to is during my travels, when I have to sit down for an hour or two. Because prior to that, I'm just moving, organizing, consolidating things in my life, just looking to move forward. Because we already know what politics is hitting for. Malcolm already told us what it's all about. So it is crazy to see how people argue and fight over who the president is going to be, who's going to be the better master for the masses. And I mean, people really drawing lines in the sand with their loved ones. And it's unbelievable that you can't even have a civilized discourse without people really taking it personal. But, as we say before, that the masses are asses. You just point them in the direction and they're going to go. Because as sure as you got sheep, you're always going to have a shepherd. Now, is it going to be a good shepherd or bad shepherd? Who knows? But most people don't even want to be a shepherd. They just want to be sheep, led to slaughter. So that's they bad.
I feel you, brother. And the sad thing about it is that, as Malcolm said, you are fighting for something that hasn't fought for you, that gives you no respect whatsoever, that will continue to disrespect you. And still, you have our people so addicted to this plantation life. And, as I said to some of my Christian friends out here, it's my understanding that Jesus went against Caesar. It wasn't in the best interest of the people. In fact, me and a pastor, who was a good friend of mine, we was going at it a little bit. I'm like, yo, calm down a little. Pump the brakes. First of all, pump your brakes. Let me remind you who you talking to before you really get out of line. So pump your brakes. That's number one. Number two, I had to remind her. I said, you are a member of the clergy. And I know you're fully well aware of Revelations 18:4. When he said to come out of her, you cannot win. You cannot win. And so I started sending her some clips of some of our ancestors who said that we should not partake in such a thing. And then I asked her, because she threw that at me, our ancestors, that line.
Yeah, our ancestors died for the right to vote.
I'm like, first,
that is not why they
incorrect.
died.
I said, that's an incorrect statement, number one. And then we engaged in that. But then I brought up, the same post that I made on social media, so everyone is aware of it. I sent her the WEB, who said that he was walking away from the vote. And after trying for 30 years, WEB, after 30 years of trying to work within the two political powerhouses, he finally realized it wouldn't work. Malcolm said it wouldn't work. Martin said that he feared that he integrated us into a burning house. Martin Delaney said it won't work. Ida B. Wells said it won't work.
But check the fly part though, because many of us are over 30 and 40 years old. So even within our lifetime, has it worked? So if we're going to ignore the ancestors, what if our personal experiences have taught us? Now, when we had Obama, we like, oh, hold up, it's a glimpse of hope. It's a glimpse of hope. And what did we get? More of the same.
You got a glimpse. You ain't get a hope.
You ain't get a hope, just a glimpse. But what it could look like. Because he was talking a good one. Said, yeah, you know, I married a black woman. My wife is fine. And, you know, so much rhetoric that we used to. He knew the lingo. He knew the lingo. But see, I knew he was going to have a problem with Obama because prior to Obama, a bunch of so-called black leaders were doing an apology tour. I think Al Sharpton and a few other people were just apologizing for positions that they held that was in our interest, speaking on our behalf. So I said, yo, what's up with these dudes? But then turn around, Obama came in, and remember, his first debacle was the thing with Henry Skip Gates Lewis. And remember when the police arrested him at his house, saying that he he was a burglary suspect. Henry Louis Gates Jr. showed him that he lived there, and the cops still arrested him. So Obama said what the cop did was stupid. White folks lost their mind. How you gonna call law enforcement stupid? Oh, he's anti-police. I told you he's a Muslim. He's a terrorist. Because remember, they was all on that Barack Hussein Obama tip. And that's when he got the cop and Henry Louis Gates Jr. to have a beer on the White House lawn while they hash it out. Obama apologized, and the cop never did. And I said, oh, we're going to have trouble with this one. He's soft, too. And then remember, he ushered in the alphabet agenda. He brought it straight in. Remember, he was on the cover of Newsweek. First gay president. Remember, he declared June Alphabet Month and just gave them so many rights while suppressing ours. Them and the Latino got so much for 8 years under a black president while we got the death of Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, so many others, Eric Garner, so many others. All that happened while the black president was in office. So we really got to be mindful on how these things really don't work in our favor, you know? So for us to be out here arguing and fighting with family members, and it kills me how around election time, everybody becomes a political pundit. All of a sudden, everybody's an expert on politics. I was like, yo, my dude, you can't even tell me who your city councilman is. So get out of here. You don't even go to PTA meetings. Get out of here. Don't talk to me about the president. Who's the president of your child's PTA? Come on, cut it out. But I'm supposed to listen to them. People who don't read books. People who just watch TV. They get all their information from TV, and they don't even listen to talk radio. So why? I'm not taking my cue from no idiot. If a person owns more movies than books, I don't trust them. If you own more sneakers, more bottles of liquor than books, I don't trust you. I'm sorry. You can't tell me nothing. But I digress, sis.
I like when my brothers be going in. When they crack me up, but they 100 all the time. That's why the three of us work so well. Like you said, brother, you can't tell me nothing. And one of the persons that I was, discussing this with, I said, you going to tell someone who actually ran for a political office what the deal is? I'm telling you what's behind the scenes. I'm telling you what they not telling you. I said, now when you get your britches big enough, then you throw your hat in the ring. And let me see and come back and tell me if you don't have the same experience. Go back and tell me. But like I said, I'm glad my brother Omawale AfriKa is coming in tonight, because when I first saw the documentary trailer, I said, yes, somebody gets what I've been saying. Somebody gets it. And, he did a wonderful job explaining the history of why it is not in our favor to vote. And just a wonderful, wonderful thing. One of the things that I did want to clear up, though, because on this program, we claim it, we own it. That's who we are. We are thorough. And so last week, when we were discussing the legacy of Black voters in this country, I made a mishap. When I was talking about the first voter, I mentioned the illustrator, because I also do research on illustrators and writers as well, because it is important that you understand who is writing, because they too have their own agenda.
Right.
And so you have to look at it from that perspective. And so I gave the wrong name when I said Alfred Ward was the first person who voted in this country. Alfred Ward is the cartoonist or the illustrator. The first person I meant to say was Thomas Peterson. So I just wanted to correct that. We keep it thorough here, and I don't play no games when it comes to this political thing. If I'm giving you information, I'm going to give it to you right and exact. But the brother who voted first in this country was Thomas Peterson. I think his name is Mundy, middle name Mundy, I think. But he actually was the first one to vote in this country. But the numbers that I gave was right and exact. There were almost 100,000 of us more at that time who voted than white folks. And that is what legally, Brother Tag, gave us the balance of power. That is how we became a minority majority legally, because we did it with the numbers. And that was right after enslavement. So I'm glad, like I said, my brother is coming on. I first want to give a shout out to everybody who was out here trying to educate our people as it relates to this political realm. All of you, Brother Kev, keep doing the damn thing, Brother Kev. You know, my brother Gary out there in Boston, I love you, brother. Don't let them people bust your head, bro, because you can't deal with the insane. Sometimes you just have to let them go ahead until they see their own insanity. And I mean that in every sense of the word. For us to think or believe or have a feeling that we will get any progress in this duopoly, we're sadly mistaken. And that in itself should be called into question, because you have other parties, although I'm not in favor, of the Green Party or the Libertarian Party's current platform. However, they are nixed out of the political debates, the media, a commentary. They are like they don't even exist. If you're not independent media, mainstream media ain't messing with you. And this is a protest that I believe that the people, should continue, because we are killing mainstream media's numbers. Their numbers have been dying for the last 8 years, and this is a fact. People normally get their information from independent sources such as ours and a myriad of others. And but for them to hone in on this duopoly, and no one, I mean no one who claims to want a democracy has ever brought this to the fore. Not anyone in Congress, not the Senate body, no one. No one is bringing this to the fore. And I believe that the power of the press is to do just that. And they are negating their role in that. They are supposed to be voices of the people, not the voices of industry. And so that's where mainstream media has begun to fall, because people are seeing, you're not the voice of the people. And so I would ask all of you who are voters to ask your respected camps, why is it that they themselves, who claim to want a democracy, won't even speak out against this? But I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. And I do want to give thanks again to the fam, Terry Livewire Moore, Brother Parker Phillips. The video is going crazy. I'm getting all kind of requests for these brothers to show up here, show up there. It's just taking off. And I'm just glad that to be a part of it, was asked to be a part of it, and to be named the #1 draft pick. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
The people's champ. So, yeah, so I thank them for that. And we're going to play that a little bit later before we bring on Brother Omawale. We'll play that video for you guys. But one of the things I do want to know is, Brother Tad, you mentioned in Bed-Stuy, these white nationalist groups, they will not come into our areas. They know better, and you have to, family, be careful who these people put before you, who they honor. Without respect to you, right now, I believe today in this day in history in 68 is when Shirley Chisholm became the first Black person to run for Congress. And as I said on this program before, the reason why you hear the name Shirley Chisholm is not because she was the first Black woman to serve on the congressional body or Black woman to run for president, which is a farce, and I proved that. But the reason why Shirley Chisholm is honored is because Shirley Chisholm was a ghostwriter for several presidents. Going back to Eisenhower, she was a ghostwriter. So a lot of the speeches that they gave, they can give credit to Shirley Chisholm. So that's the main reason why she is honored in this country. The second is she aligned herself with feminism. And we all know how that plays out in this country. And I found out recently, and I'm going to try to see if I can get the article posted up here, but so was Coretta Scott King, a feminist supporter. So we're going to get into that also as well. But I want to play the clip to Brother Omawale's documentary. Brother Tad, is that okay with you?
It's cool with me, sis.
All right, family, let me see if I can get this queued up. Oh, shout out to the Professor William Mackey Study Group, African Helping Africans. I believe they kicked off yesterday for their weekly series. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it. I'm stuck in grandma babysitting duties right now, so I couldn't make it, but I will definitely be there next week. So let me just see. Let's watch this clip.
You got it, sis?
Yeah. Put your hand, buddy. It's good for you. 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 It's good for you.
Ever feel that what you were doing was in any way act of treason or unpatriotism towards your country, towards the United States of America, or had you abandoned America? Did you feel you were now a Cuban, or what?
No, I don't believe any man who lives under tyranny in a government can ever be truthfully accused of treason. Treason can only come when a man is entitled to the rights and privileges, and he is protected by his government, and then he betrays that government. Then he can be accused of treason. But when the government betrays its trust to its people, then the government is what is guilty, is the guilty party to treason. And I consider the government of the United States to have failed the black people in America in protecting the rights of black people and the enforcement of the Constitution. So it wasn't a matter of treason, but it was a matter of constitutional betrayal on the part of the United States of America, on the part of the government and the so-called decent people in America.
And I, for one, as a Muslim, believe that the white man is intelligent enough. If he were made to realize how black people really feel and how fed up we are without that old compromise and sweet talk, why, you're the one that make it hard for yourself. The white man believes you when you go to him with that old sweet talk, because you've been sweet talking him ever since he brought you here. Stop sweet talking. Tell him how you feel. Tell him what kind of hell you've been catching, and let him know that if he's not ready to clean his house up, if he's not ready to clean his house up, he shouldn't have a house. Just catch on fire and burn down.
aren't you in fact advocating, preaching that Afro-Americans should try to destroy American industry and bring chaos to American cities?
I'm preaching for my people the same thing that George Washington, Patrick Henry preached for their people in another time, in another day. That I'm preaching that we must use any means necessary in order to liberate ourselves, and that we have no right to submit to tyranny. I'm saying that we must become men, and we must resist, and we must use any means, no matter what it requires. The fact that I'm more concerned with the liberation of people, I'm more concerned with humanity and the human flesh than with buildings, than with the loss of property. You see, this is the cold capitalist version of the fact that we must save the property, but I'm interested in saving the people, and the black people have a right to be saved as much as anybody. And unless white America is willing to liberate the black people and to stop oppressing us, then if America must go up in smoke, then let it go, let it go, let it burn.
Why does this loom to be such an explosive political year? Because this is the year of politics. This is the year when all of the white politicians are going to come into the Negro community. You never see them until election time. You can't find them until election time. They're going to come in with false promises. And as they make these false promises, they're going to feed our frustrations. And this will only serve to make matters worse. I'm no politician. I'm not even a student of politics. I'm not a Republican, nor a Democrat, nor an American, and got sense enough to know it.
The city of Philadelphia has been the undisputed seat of power for the Democratic Party for the past 70 years. Home to the world's most famous political prisoner, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Philadelphia holds the title of the most politically corrupt city in America. Among the 10 largest cities in the nation, Philadelphia's poverty rate is the highest, and nearly half of all poor residents are in deep poverty, defined as 50% below the federal poverty line. As of 2020, Philadelphia is ranked the second deadliest city in the nation and remains the heroin capital of the United States of America.
So as the U.S. continues to grapple with this opioid problem, a recent feature published in the New York Times Magazine goes inside Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood. It's an area that's become synonymous with drug use. It's even earned the nickname the Walmart of heroin. Jennifer Percy is a contributing writer for the New York Times Magazine and the author of that story, and joins me now from Brooklyn, New York. Jennifer, thanks for joining me. I live in Philadelphia, and I'm familiar with the Kensington neighborhood, but the way you described it was even shocking to me. And I think it's because, like many Philadelphians, you don't go there. You may sort of go to the edges where there's a lot of gentrification and the hot new restaurant is there. But if you have to pass by Kensington, you go as quickly as you can.
The life expectancy for children born in the city's poor zip codes is lower than both Syria and Iraq.
What is different about what we're seeing now with this opioid addiction? I'm trying to understand the differences and maybe the similarities.
Well, I think the biggest difference between the crack epidemic of the 80s and the current opioid epidemic has to do with race and also semantics and how we're talking about the problem and how we're approaching the problem. This is a big topic of discussion among community residents in Kensington, that basically the city abandoned them during the 80s during the crack epidemic, and now suddenly they're paying attention to them.
Another spurt of gun violence in Philadelphia is raising concerns about the city's rising murder rate. Overnight in Germantown, there were 3 separate shootings within an hour. One of those shootings near Pulaski and Seymour claimed the life of a 20-year-old man. That homicide is part of a broader trend of more murders this year.
Black residents of the city have been so demoralized by their everyday conditions that many chose to sit out the 2016 presidential election, during which the state of Pennsylvania went red for the first time in 28 years. Heading into the 2020 election, the old guard of the Democratic Party is in a state of panic, given the new attitude among black voters.
Hello, Philadelphia! Man, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania.
The political chasm in black America is widening by the hour. And without a policy carrot to offer, the stick of Donald Trump might not be scary enough to get disillusioned black voters to the polls.
all that shit about black folks voting and not getting anything in return, it's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. We're here, when we're protesting in the streets, we're protesting for policy change, okay? And we cannot get policy change if there's a fucking Klansman in the White House. And we're sitting here, okay? We're sitting here because of the shit that black people voted for ahead of us. For the black folks who died, for the right for us to vote, and who actually vote and show up and talk to these white people in ways that we would never do because we can't be bothered or whatever. Like, we're sitting here off of their backs. And so to sit here and be like, niggas is voting and don't have anything to show for it, and I don't know what y'all gonna do, and y'all really excited about what, it's infuriating. And I'm not even a political, electoral, fucking politics ass bitch, but that shit is fucking insulting.
The people who are engaged in this, Julian, are stuck on stupid. And the reality is we got Biden, Harris, Trump, Pence. This real simple. Which one of these y'all want, fools? Which one y'all want? It's going to be Biden, Harris, or Trump, Pence.
Black person who doesn't vote in the 2020 election, any black person who votes for the Republicans in the 2020 election is a traitor. And people like Kanye, traitor, Ice Cube, traitor. If you don't vote for Joe and Kamala, if you don't vote at all, if you talk that nonsense that Ice Cube is talking about, we got to have a seat at the table. You're a traitor, black man. You're a traitor, black woman, if you don't vote for the Democrats in the 2020 election. Why? Because a traitor is one who commits treason. Treason is legally defined as giving aid and comfort to the enemy. Donald Trump is the enemy. The Republicans are the enemy. And there's no greater revolutionary alive today than Angela Davis. And she said the same thing. So I don't care how much revolutionary stuff you post on social media, you ain't Angela Davis. And you ain't no real revolutionary if you let Donald Trump win.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and the first of my family go to college, they don't want to overplay this Howard AKA thing so much, because y'all got to be real careful. Black people have class tensions too. So, you know, Kamala Harris is cool.
Wait, Dr. Carr, no.
You know what I mean? I mean, come on now. Y'all don't want, I mean.
Come on, Boulay, whatever that is.
See, you see?
What's
look,
that?
and you know that's
bill, blue check, bourgeois. What is that?
Come on, you know, and look, the people who you want to get out to vote, the link's coming, the AKA's coming, the Delta, the Panhellenic, they gonna bust I'm seeing now all my old heads, they raising money. Yeah. But guess what? They're gonna vote. What you need is Shaniqua and them, Kwame and them, the people looking at it like, what y'all gonna do? We don't give a damn. Obama didn't do nothing for us. I ain't voting. I don't give a damn. I mean, be real careful about this class.
How do you do that though? Okay, so this is the question, right? And this is my frustration, because you raised something and we were going to go down another path. We'll say that for next week.
No, we good.
But this notion, and you're absolutely right. So I posit this, Dr. Carr. When did those folk who aren't engaged now, because I feel like the vast majority of people who say they're not going to vote probably haven't voted. They probably don't vote. They probably wouldn't vote anyway. So this is just an excuse to not vote.
My name is Omawale AfriKa. I'm a husband and a father. I'm a proud black man and a political organizer. I'm not voting. Neither should you.
Omawale AfriKa is part of an emerging movement of black nationalist institution builders, working to build community power outside of the American political system.
Well, family, you know, like I said, you have people who are throwing out threats, you know, for a vote. And as we have explained many times on this platform, it's just not the way to go. Every week that we come on, we try to educate you all a little bit better on the voting process and our history of voting. And so, like I said, when I saw Brother Omawale's documentary, I say, yeah, I got to share this trailer and I got to rent this. So I did. And he laid it out brilliantly. He laid it out brilliantly. And I can't wait for the brother to come on so we can start this discussion because, you know, and to see Roland Martin, you know, just blatant disrespect, you know, just looking like the owl that sits on the, you know, just go sit down somewhere with your foolery. And then you have Michael Cord. Now, the first time I met Michael Cord,
I don't know.
I do. I met him in Philly when we went out there in support of Move and Mumia. I saw him. He was at the I think it was a Catholic church. I don't know. Maybe Dr. Filet could drop the notes in the chat. But it was some kind of church. We was all, you know, that's where the event was held. And he just rubbed me the wrong way. Everything about him, everything. He throwing out death threats, you know, talking about people are traitors to the race because we won't choose Kamala Harris or or Joe Biden. How the hell are we traitors to the race? Negro, you are a traitor to the race.
How did Angela Davis become
that's another thing.
Symbol of revolution? Like what? Oh wait, what? I quit.
Meanwhile, he's in the city of Philadelphia where Mumia Abu-Jamal still currently sits in the penitentiary, and you have the nerve to open your mouth and say Angela Davis, the greatest revolutionary ever? You got to watch these hand-picked folks. I'm telling you, I didn't like that cat, and I wish my brother James Bryson was still alive because we was chopping it up and talking about this dude. He not right, and I don't care what nobody say. Something about him rubs me the wrong way. And then you have the person who's interviewing Dr. Carr. You know, they straight up just talked about the boule. They just straight up said, you know, it's a class issue, you know, as if they are separate and apart from everyone else.
Right.
I think we are clear that there is no class issue as it relates to white supremacy and white aggression. You out of your mind. But you can't, but you see, they get these hand-picked folks. You know, they give them a platform, put some dough in their pocket. And because our people are not politically astute, refuse to research correctly, refuse to gather their own information, especially as it relates to our ancestors and our freedom fighters, that these people could be put before you and spew out a whole bunch of rhetoric and disrespect. You know, I don't know, Brother Tad. I need to calm down. And shout out to my National and African American Gun Club members. Yes, we ain't playing out here. The only group, Black-led Black finance that has a pack out here, an actual lobby for Black people when it comes to the Second Amendment. So shout out to NAAGA, had to rep the team today. But Brother Tad, you know, I don't know. What do you think about the trailer for this Un-American Dilemma documentary?
I love the trailer. I thought it was put together well. I thought the visual effects was on point. And I love that he put the position of those that regurgitates the rhetoric that we've been hearing time and time again. So clearly our brother's going to come on and tear that apart and dissect that. But I'm glad that people actually get to hear the foolishness, because I've never heard of Michael Cord before. But to hear him say that, to see him say that, after how the trailer opened up with speeches by Malcolm in the position of the mighty Robert F. Williams, you know, people who are really on the front line, real revolutionaries that have given their lives for this. Angela Davis, I wouldn't say that, because she's in bed with the very folks that are oppressing us. You know what I'm saying? She's revolutionary light. She's like a mile. She's almost like an alcohol. What you say? A non-alcoholic beer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you beer, but you don't got that sting. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're a revolutionary, but You know your place. And that's what it is with this system. They'll let you talk all that junk all you want, but you know what to say and what not to say. Because as long as you're agitating folks to go participate in the system that benefits them, then by all means, yeah, go out and vote. You got to vote Joe Biden. I swear, Sister Keisha, I think we may need to continue this conversation next week because I got to get my hands on the book, Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Del Jones, by Nana Del Jones. Because what we're going through right now, and I don't know how Del Jones did it, but it's almost like he had a crystal ball. Because even when you read Black Holocaust, it's either Black Holocaust or Black Holocaust 2000, where he said a Bush would be in office in the new millennium. And it was funny because at the time I read that book, George Bush Sr. was in office. I was like, he kind of missed it because there is a Bush in office already. Lo and behold, Jr. comes in 2000, just like Baba Del Jones predicted. But then when you read Invasion of the Body Snatchers, he talks about the civil war against the white nationalists and the Illuminati, the globalists. Said the Illuminati, the New World Order will call themselves the globalists, and the white nationalists will fight to hold on to their way of life. And it's unfortunate that we don't have the great mind of our ancestor Steve Coakley around to really dissect this. I mean, we got the great brother Darren Muhammad, so shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? But the first time I heard about the Illuminati from a real in-depth aspect in the Boule and things like that were through the ancestor Steve Coakley. So we already got great minds within our community. They already made their stamp in time through their books and through their lectures, so the information is out there. Our folks just have lazy scholarship. So they just have strong opinions and weak facts because they don't have a real frame of reference. You know what I mean? So they just regurgitate what the masses tell them to say. Because for Michael Court, like I said, again, I don't know that brother, but to charge the community with treason for not voting for Biden when we know who Biden is. I wish Dr. Esau was here so he could tell these people about Biden and his personal experience with them and that family. Because, of course, again, wasn't Hunter Biden just recently caught up with some drugs and stuff, and they confiscated his laptop and found some unsavory things? However, it's not being put out there in mainstream media because they don't want to upset the apple cart and let people know who the Bidens really are. So we got to start thinking for ourselves, you know what I mean, while it's still legal. Because what people don't understand what's happening right now is it's really a fight for our minds. Because pretty soon it's going to be illegal to say certain things or even have certain thoughts and ideas.
It is now.
Right. They're already doing it with making you a social outcast if you don't go along with the masses. But I digress. Just some step off my soapbox. I'm ready to hear what our brother Omawale has to say.
Indeed, brother Tad. Again, and I have to remind the family, YouTube pulled our video, the one we did using Frontline PBS.
That's right.
They pulled the video, said that it was biased and a bit threatening, and so I am appealing that right now. But this is
information control.
Yes, that's what it is. To take away your First Amendment right. That's why you have the Second Amendment, to back that up. And we run away from that wholeheartedly.
And you know what, sis? And sis, one day we got to do a show solely based on the Second Amendment. How does it work? What were the judge's opinions on the Second Amendment? Because many people don't understand that any weapon that the United States military has, we have a legal right to own the same weapon. That's part of the Second Amendment. That is part of the Second Amendment. Some people that have challenged the Second Amendment lost because of that. In fact, one case I'm thinking about, there was a gangster who had a sawed-off shotgun, and he was convicted and tried to appeal it based on the Second Amendment, but they told him because he modified it by sawing it off. But the judge's opinion, and he was going down the line saying that you can legally have any weapon that the military has. So they got a rocket launcher, you should be able to get a rocket launcher. They got a tank, you should be able to get a tank. But I mean, these are the things that they try to keep from us in terms of crushing information. Because it shows everybody in the fever about the 15th Amendment, why nobody approached the Second Amendment with the same fervor? You know, vote, 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 vote. Well, all right, that's the 15th Amendment. What about the Second Amendment? Carry a gun, protect yourself, because we see we are literally at war. We've been at war since they landed on the shores of Africa. And since they brought us here, we've been at war. Everybody know that except us, but I digress.
Facts. You're 100% correct. I can't debate anything that you say. Yes, we do have to do a show dedicated to the Second Amendment because, you know, everyone, the three of us anyway, are strong proponents of such. So we will definitely do that. And probably, like you said, we'll continue it, you know, with next week's program, because after that, we're going to have in some guests, because we're going to revisit a lot of these older cases, as I promised, from people who were actually there, people who actually was a part of it, can give you the real truth, the real history, and real insight. Because, like I said, the FCC is in serious violation. The FCC has a mandate that an allotment of time dedicated to news and progression is supposed to be dedicated to our community. And when you have these, your Foxes, your CNNs, and ABCs, NBCs, whatever you want to call them, not adhering to that, they are in violation. It is just sad that we don't have a Black law firm that will take this fight on. The FCC is in violation. You know, it's crazy. So I don't want to get too much into the topic because, like I said, we're going to have our brother Omawale come in here. And shout out to everyone who's listening. You know, those of you who want to throw your comments and questions in the chat, we'll take that. Once Brother Ashe gets in here, if he makes it on time, we will begin to take those phone calls. But as I said earlier, again, special shout out to Live Wire and Parker Phillips. The song No More is a hit. The video is a hit. And shout out to Busta Rhymes. Yeah. You know, it's this time when we need another direction. And to hear, you know, Busta's album drop. Shout out to Soul G. But to hear Busta's album drop, and then Live Wire drops this single, is just fitting right now for the times that we in. So as we welcome our brother Omawale in here, we're gonna play the video of No More so you guys can see it. And I believe it went on sale today. If not tomorrow, I will definitely have that information for you in our next week's program. And hopefully we'll have the two artists to join us as well. So hold on, family. We're going to get this popping for you real quick.
We are the hunted, subjugated with vehemence, but pledged with allegiance to the sun. Forced to walk backwards, praying to run. No rest for the Son of Man, staring down the barrel of a gun. Hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe with your foot on my neck. He says, how art thou out of breath when thou hast breath to say to me, thou art out of breath. Your next. I'm getting you before they do. Black on black crime is not a myth, but we need a savior. We endangered. Superman save us, cause we quick to scrap, we quick to fight. Blood drips from niggas get that kryptonite. I know my rights, but they have me in their sights. I'm good as dead. Bullseye on my arm, leg, arm, head. They fabricate villains to feed their system, feasting on human flesh. Capitalism creates victims. Corporation liquefying the dead. Life sentence for my train of thought. Can't mention all that I've been taught. Go missing, hinting at such talk. Kindred living being sold and bought. No kidding. Niggas stuck on Newport's hawk split. Spirits caught in throats suspended. Vocal cords hanging off a rope. throat smitten, and those positions sitting across from God, breaking beats to compositions while I just nod. Black is God, behold, nega, isambo, God is my name. Lay flowers like candles, no go ropes or chains. I'm free, son. See these locks on my head? No Caesar, Alexander is dead. Fuck, Trump with a long dick. Taste of your own medicine, disrespectful as shit. The revolution will be televised again. Fuck that, while out, youngin', do it for the gram. DG, let's go.
Baby, you're right on time for the struggle. Yeah. Hands up on the double. Brother, you're right on track with the pressure. One voice all together, singing over and over and over and over.
Time out.
We ain't gonna take it no more.
No more. I'm not asking, can I live? I'm not asking, can I breathe? Now we can all live as kin, but asking is now deceased. I'm teaching my own hood, not asking for your degrees. Y'all singing the same lullaby, trying to rock us to sleep. Protests go back to peace, brutality by police. Woke sheep cause he the beast. Now we ain't sleeping the peak, contrary to your beliefs. My people just want peace and a large chunk of the pie. Now we don't just want a piece. 381, boycott them out of their crib. See Malcolm, he had a gun, and Martin, he had a dream. See me, I got both. In a world of people like me that singing the same song. No M-O-R-E.
Baby, you're right on time for the struggle. Hands up on the double. Brother, you're right on track with the pressure. One voice all together, singing over and over and over and over.
Time out.
We ain't gonna take it no more.
And we ain't waiting for Biden. Bitch need 100 bills past Biden. Biting my teeth, I don't want violence, but America tired. It was y'all that summoned the storm of Poseidon, and now y'all wanna talk about riots. Some people just choose stupid. Stop asking for them to see the Star Spangled Banner. What's a breaking on the I pledge allegiance to me. I pledge allegiance to freedom, to justice, equality. Remember, I tried to kneel. You ain't listen to me, and now they burning it down, and now you wanna agree. And now Black Lives Matter, but there's a problem. Too many black people murdered with those police on the street. Witness a revolution. Together we can be beat. I'm talking to everybody. Black, white, no in between. I'm not asking, can I live? I'm not asking, can I breathe? Fuck if you don't agree. No M-O-R-E.
Baby, you're right on time for the struggle. Hands up on the double. Brother, you're right on track with the pressure. One voice all together, singing over and over and over and over. We ain't gonna take it no more. Baby, you're right on time.
Good afternoon. What's going on, man? You're being served an eviction notice for this property. We need you to be out by today.
By today?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
You got to take it up with the court.
Listen, man, so we can't go right now, man. If you can give us a few more days, we can figure something out.
I understand that we got to do our job, buddy. I'm sorry.
I understand you got to do your job, but I got my family here, man. Yo, this is $7,000 that you asking for at this type of time, man. I ain't got that type of money. Yo, this is my what? Yo, give us the house. Get my son. You're gonna do this again to my son? In front of my wife? Get off me. This is unnecessary, man.
Baby, you're right on time for the struggle. Hands up on the double. Brother, you're right on track with the pressure. One voice all together, singing over and over and over and over. We ain't gonna take it no more.
This can't be our norm. This can't be our norm. We must change the narrative. And the only way you can do that is through education. It is your passport to the world. You have to empower your mind. You have to learn and know the greatness you come from. Understand that we have traveled the seas way before slavery. Understand that we have been able to detect star constellations in the sky way before any European ever documented it. Understand that you have an existence that goes back to 2.5 million years before anyone else was on this planet. Understand your greatness, because when you know your greatness, you build to be better and do better. We don't need to run, we need to lead. We need to stand strong. But there will always be sheep and there will always be shepherds. Understand the role you play. You can follow like a sheep, or you can lead like a shepherd. But it's time to move forward, and you got to make a decision. The time is now.
Straight fire.
Again, Brooklyn's on the comeback. Trust and believe that. Brooklyn's on the comeback. Again, shout out to Live Wire, Parker Phillips, and Voices of Glory. Dr. Filet, I did relay that message. They might be getting with you. So look out for that phone call. We trying to make some other things happen behind the scenes. We'll definitely keep the family abreast of what's going on. But again, like I said, family, we are excited tonight. We have the brother Omawale AfriKa in the building. We played the trailer for you earlier. An Un-American Dilemma is fire, and more fire. There are discussions that have been happening after the release. I've been checking them out as well. I want this thing to go crazy. You know, all it takes is $9.99 to rent it. You won't be sorry. Like I said, I spent the $10 to rent it, and now I'm going to purchase it because I got to keep that in the library. I'm a researcher. That's what I do. So without further ado, family, we welcome you. UNIA's very own out of PA, brother Omawale AfriKa. How you feeling, brother?
Yeah.
What's good?
Peace, Sister Keisha, brother Tad. What's good with y'all?
Peace. All right, brother.
I'm glad to be back in the building with y'all. We chopped it up back in 2018 when y'all was doing the straight Black Pride situation.
Yes,
My
sir.
sister Mello out of Boston had linked me up with y'all, so I'm glad to be back in communion.
No doubt. It's good to have you back, brother.
It's good to be back.
That's
so
what's
how long
up.
did this documentary take you to put together?
Oh man, we knocked it out in 2 months.
Wow.
You know, nah. I mean, listen. All credit to my bro Frank Edwards out of Carolina. The way that it snowballed into a documentary project. It wasn't supposed to be a documentary from the very beginning. It was supposed to be, at first it was just supposed to be a presentation because right. So back in August, I had helped to convene the RBG Centennial Conference. The week after that, I took some time off of vacation to spend some time with my family because I was going real hard leading up to that weekend conference. So while I'm on the road driving down to South Carolina for vacation, that's when I heard the Michael Kors situation. And like when I heard it, it just set my spirit on fire. So I reached out to my bro Frank. I said, yo, I need you to create me a flyer. I said, I want to do an address on Nat Turner Day on October the 2nd, addressing, some of like the Boule, the Black Elite, like all these folks that are talking crazy right now. Like I've come to call them the Democratic wing or the Pan-African wing of the Democratic Party. These are people who are Pan-Africanists and nationalists and very only, right? But when it comes to putting your feet on the ground, they're not really about that. But I felt as though I really, really needed to address them. And that initial conversation that we had, it just snowballed into what it became. At the end of September, I feel like maybe like the last week of September, we just threw up an Indiegogo to see if people would support to, put some funds into it so we could make it happen. We told folks we just needed $2,500 to get it done. The campaign was 10 days. We closed it out in 9 days, raised a little bit over $3,000 to get it done, and we knocked it out. So yeah, it took us 2 months, but to be real, if I was to do this again, like knowing what I know and what it takes to go into this type of project, this is like a 1 year, like year and a half, like lead to. I wouldn't advise nobody in life to try to do this, to try to do this in 2 months because it was brutal, but we got it done.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because I know sometimes documentaries take a while. And when we spoke last time, you didn't mention the documentary or that it was coming. But I'm glad that you did do it You know, Sister Keisha, anything you wanna?
Definitely.
There's so
Definitely.
much going through my mind so
I
fast.
know.
Listen,
We got here now.
I'm here. I'm here. Shout out to my brother
got him.
Bomani.
We got him.
And shout out to Empress Filet. I see them in the chat. But I'm here, man. I'm here to discuss whatever, because this is a pivotal moment for us as a people. And one thing that I knew that I wanted to do with this documentary is I wanted to force a conversation. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think that we got a lot of stagnant energy that's really holding up our movement as a people. And I think that we need to clear out some of this old energy that's really, keeping us held back. You got people who've gotten real comfortable. You understand what I'm saying, on the Democratic Party plantation, and our people are starving. They need alternatives. They need new solutions. They need real power to address their material conditions. And none of this stuff that has anything to do with this election or any of the stuff that's been happening is addressing in these things in our community. So I wanted to, with this documentary, really just put it all on the table, because going forward, we ain't gonna have no excuse. You understand what I'm saying? So like the energy that we've been seeing starting to form over the past 4 months, like just at the grassroots level, I'm really trying to be a part of that. I'm trying to work with brothers and sisters, no matter where you are, so that we can really build and make something happen for our people. Because if we don't do it now, we're gonna be lost.
Definitely. But before we really get into it, brother, let the people know who Brother Omawale AfriKa is. Where you live, where you come from. How did you come upon that? This is something that is critical right now for our people.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, Brother Omawale is from North Philadelphia, born and raised in the Badlands. I love my people, and I think that that's the criteria that pushes you to want to do something for your people. I've always been an organizer pretty much my entire adult life, but organizing through the lens that I've been organizing as of late, that race first, Afrocentric, revolutionary lens, is something, it's a road that I've been traveling for, I would say, about the past 5 years. But I've always been, moved to act on behalf of our people. But like the majority of us, my action or my activity was in the typical ways that we do it, whether it be voting or engaging via non-for-profit or just working with the local community organization. But as I got a better understanding of the situation that we've been placed in as a people globally, and as I've understood the solutions that others have attempted in the past, it slowly but surely put me on the right track as to what I need to be doing right now. So that's a journey that I've been traveling, and I've tried to show people during a portion of that documentary. I called it The Road to Political Heresy. And basically, becoming a heretic, what does that mean? Because, heretics get burnt at the stake. These are the people who basically go against the norm, go against the established order, go against the status quo. And by doing that, you make a lot of enemies, right? There's an African proverb that says a speaker of truth has no friends. So I knew that, right, going into this project and seeking to speak truth to power, I knew I was going to make a lot of enemies, especially given the content and given the timing of when this content was going to be released. Philly is the it's the home of the boule. It's where the boule was started in Philly. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's the seat of power for the Democratic Party, right? So for you to go up against that, you ain't going to make no friends. But I think the thing that has been surprising, although it probably should not have been, has been who I've been getting opposition from. Because what this thing has allowed me to do is it really has showed like who is who, because it's exposed a lot of people. When you start to see who's giving you the opposition, then you kind of know what box to put them in. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that when you bring things like this to the surface, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable because they can no longer stand, on both sides of the barricade. Right? They can't ride both sides of the fence. They gotta make a decision, right? And that decision will tell you what box to put them in, you know what I mean? Or what box to put them in, you know what I mean? So I think that that's kind of like where I'm at. I don't even know if I answered your question, but if I didn't, ask me again and I'll spit it back at you.
No, you definitely did. Before we move on, I want to give a shout out to Brother Bomani, who sends his best to you. Brother Knowledge Born, sends salutes. Definitely Knowledge Born. We got to make that happen for real. And, I agree with what you said. I get my frontline information as far as Philly is concerned, from Dr. Filet and Pam Africa. So I've been getting my info from them for quite some time, and of course, like you said, that's the home of the boule. And when I saw the commentary by Michael Cord, if I could have jumped through this computer screen and karate chopped him in the throat, that would have been too easy. And as you said, we're gonna have to pull a lot of coats right now, because this thing is very serious. As we said in our opening, you have a lot of people bickering with each other to fight for a system that does not fight for you, will not fight for you. And as I've said on this platform, white supremacy invests trillions of dollars into itself yearly. They are not going to roll over for you. They won't even roll over for honorary white folks. So it ain't happening for you. And I liked in the documentary how you laid it out, how someone like a W.E.B. Du Bois, who, after 30 years trying to work within a system that he saw no way out of it. And finally he comes to the fruition that, this ain't for us. So I want you, brother, if you can, for the viewers who are watching right now who have not seen the trailer, give us a synopsis of this I call it a docu-film, because the way you went out on the street corner, and shout out to brother George Mason. I definitely love his work and what he's always been doing, so shout out to him. But when you took the people on the street on significant blocks or territories in Philly and brought out the history, why it was important, if you could touch on all of that, brother, please do so.
Absolutely. So we did the documentary. We almost shot it like a docudrama. Like there was like different chapters that built up to the end. So we broke it down into 6 parts. It starts off with what we call the opening sequence is really just an introduction to the battleground, right? Introducing Philly and using Philly as a proxy for all of Black America, right? Because when you look at the conditions in Philly, the Philly is Brooklyn. Right, Philly is Baltimore, Philly is Atlanta, Philly is Detroit, Philly is Oakland, right? Because no matter where we all are facing these same conditions. So that was the very beginning. We called that scene the battleground. Then the next scene, what we introduce Philly, and then we introduce me. So we introduce me by just telling my story in terms of how I came into my political awakening, and we call that particular scene the road to political heresy, right? Becoming a heretic, saying that I won't vote, right? Because if you look, I say it jokingly a lot, but in the Black community, we treat voting like a religion, right? It's almost like, and I say like every 4 years, we cast that vote almost like as communion. Like, with this vote, I'm taking part in the body of Martin Luther King, and the rest of my ancestors who died. Like, it's like that type of propaganda has been really drilled into us. So if you are somebody who comes out and says, wait, I'm not voting, people look at you like you said, God is the devil. So they look at you like you crazy, because they just don't have the system to be able to compute what you have said. So I basically use that part to, at a high level, arrive at how I got to the conclusion that I got at. Then the next scene is called Street Politics, where I bust down a political education course, because I did too. At the beginning of the year, I did a political education course called Strike Drum. Right, that was inspired by Jay Electronica, when he's like, all these devils I got to fight one, the joint with him and Hove, and at the end of that, he'd say like, so I wanted to do like a war cry. So at the beginning of the year, I did a political education called Strike Drum, and then like with this documentary, I wanted to do another one, but the idea was to use the outdoor, use the environment. Right, you use what's happening right in the atmosphere to engage people, because it makes it more real. It's one thing when you put it on a PowerPoint, but when you take somebody to the street corner where somebody got gunned down at, and you have a conversation with them about that person's death, and this is somebody who died organizing the Black vote. So we standing here on hollow ground, and we're talking about not voting. Like, what does that mean? So like, that's a different type of conversation. So when you come, you got to really come, with your facts in order. So it was a real outdoor political education. So we called that part street politics. The next part we call fighting for a voice. We went and connected with some brothers and sisters in the city who doing some real grassroots work. So as a part of Black August, the North Philly Peace Park annually has what they call the Black August Garden Party. So they had invited me out to talk about the importance of uplifting Black nationalism. So we was able to tie that in to the work that we was just talking about in the outdoor political education course. And then from there, we had a discussion on political treason, right? That was the next topic that we dealt with. That's what we revisited the boule, the Black elite, Michael Court calling people treasonous and traitors. And then we ended with what we called the choice, right? Where basically we all know what the choice is: the separation of death, it's Pan-Africanism or perish, it's fight or die. You understand what I'm saying? So we laid that out, but we put it in historical context. So initially this was only supposed to be like a 35-minute documentary, but once we started working on it, we was like, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to cut this down to 45 or 35 minutes, especially with the outdoor political education. Like that alone was like, 2.5 hours that he cut down into 24 minutes. So the fact that he was able to cut it down and people still walked away with all of the necessary points to reach the right conclusions, that was really important.
I feel you, and as I said, family, for those of you who have not seen this docu-film, we have the trailer loaded on Thorough Black Talk Facebook page, where you can get access to the trailer. We take you right to the demand section to purchase the rental, or for a keepsake. And I would suggest that you purchase it. It's just $19.99. As I said, Brother Omawale, I am a researcher, and if I can have someone or something minimize some of the work that I have to do, yeah, I'm going to put that in the library. So I would suggest everyone, if you can, to check out. Yeah,
that was the whole goal. The whole goal of the project was to help people shorten the distance they have to travel from being, political honeymoon to political awakening. Du Bois had to travel 30 years. Thankfully, he traveled that 30 years and wrote about it. So I didn't have to travel 30. I only had to travel 4. You understand what I'm saying? I only had to travel 2. So I experienced that, and now I put it in documentary. So the hope is that as somebody comes into their awakening, or somebody gets the bud to get out there and start trying to get people to vote, they come across this information and they don't have to travel as long, being as blind for so long. They can get something that opens their eyes, like right away. Like that's what I wanted to do, because I think back when I first came into consciousness. When I first came into consciousness, I wasn't politically educated, right? My consciousness, like I tell people all the time, like when I was 19, I'm 36 now, but when I was 19, 20 years old, the only books that I was exposed to was like the autobiography of Malcolm X, Behold a Pale Horse. It was like conspiracy theories, 48 Laws of Power, and Malcolm. Like it was that was where my consciousness was, right? But as I grew, because you can have all that information and still not have a sound mind politically, right? You can have all that and still not be politically astute. But once I kind of disciplined myself and dedicated myself to revolutionary study, that became another. You understand? So it's like the same way that conspiracy information blows your mind and opens your mind and snatches the wool off of your eyes. That's what I wanted to do with the political information. I wanted to expand people's mind and snatch the wool off of their eyes. So when somebody is coming at them with the propaganda, they got the facts right away so they can defend themselves. That's what I wanted to do.
Brother Omawale, real quick, because I love where you went. You even took it back to Behold a Pale Horse. Look, I got a brand new copy I bought a few months back, because I don't know, for nostalgia or whatever, I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th copy of Behold a Pale Horse when we talk about introduction to consciousness. So with that, as we try to agitate the consciousness of our people and we tell them not to vote, they think that we're anti-political when we say don't vote, and we don't tell them don't vote, at all. More so get caught up in the whole presidential hoopla that goes on, because like you said, it's almost like a religion with voting. But I want you to talk about the place that politics have within our struggle and its importance, because we don't want folks to think that we're not talking about don't get engaged in politics, because, you know, in our community, there's always politics, whether it's street politics, organizational politics, and just civic politics, knowing who your local assembly person and council people are to get things changed in your community. Could you speak to that real quick?
Yeah, the problem that we have is we have this whole civil rights lens where we've reduced our understanding of politics to vote, right? Politics is any and everything that you do to basically gain, wield, maintain power, right? As a collective, right? That's what politics really comes down to. So when we're telling people not to vote, we're not telling you to go sit on your hands, right? We're telling you that there are other means in which that you can organize the power in your community that don't have anything to do with voting. First and foremost, you know, there is no power without building institutional power, right? So people who are telling you to vote, to be honest, like they're trying to gain a piece of white power, right? Because white people have developed institutions, they've developed systems, they have all these things in place by which they will power. We as a powerless people are trying to go and negotiate with that system of power using a vote, right? Without our own institutions in place or our own means of having power. So for me, it's backwards, right? To try to walk up into somebody else's situation and use their situation to try to wield some type of power, when the reality is, if you want to be powerful as a people, you have to erect your own institutions that will allow you to be self-determining and sovereign, right? How are you going to have power without your own military? How are you going to have power without your own government? How are you going to have power? You can't feed yourself. You can't do for self, right? So the only thing that you have to do, the only power you have, is going to this other person and doing your best to get some of what they have to give you, but they're never going to give you enough power so that you can overpower them, right? They'll put you in position, but they control you, they feed you, they finance you. So once they want to cut you off, it's real easy to do it. And when they cut you off, everybody that's around you is going to cut you off, because black people, one thing black people know for sure, and you can tell this, it's sad because it speaks to a slave mentality, but you can tell black people know who has power by how quick we are to discard, cancel, or throw somebody away in our community once white society has turned their back on them, right? Perfect example, like this whole like Cosby situation. No matter what it is that you think of Bill Cosby as an individual, white people have the choice to determine who they want to throw away and who they want to keep. But because we have to go to white people in order to access power, once white people said that Bill Cosby was no more any good, we all quickly turned our backs on him because we know that they have the power, right? So we only care about black people. We'll suck up the black people as long as they are in good graces with white people and white people have put them in position. But once white people turn their back on them, then we turn our back on them. Same thing, Martin Luther King. White people built this man up. They put him in position as the leader. Towards the end of his life, he was completely isolated, right, from everybody that was around him because he was no longer in good graces with white people, right? When he started speaking out about Vietnam, when he started speaking out about the economic conditions in our community, when he started saying that it isn't just about a vote, it's about power, it's about economics. When he started saying that, Jesse Jackson and all them Negroes around him was like, whoa, you kind of like going off the deep end. You understand what I'm saying? So they all betrayed King. They turned their backs on King because he was no longer in good graces with white people, right? So our notion of power is basically, and this is why we get a big hit when we get put in position, because we're so used to being powerless. So when white people put us in position in their institutions and their economy, then we become the HNIC. Right, and we get to flex on other black people because now we have access to the stolen resources that the white race is hoarding. You understand what I'm saying? So as long as we're like in that pauper position and we're always begging, we're always going to be going at them from this powerless position. This is why, and I speak to this in a documentary, the black elite were in such a panic because their number one usefulness for white society is in containing the black masses and delivering the black vote of the black masses. So once they start to lose control of the vote, right? And once they lose their ability to contain us, then what use do they have? You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, their masters start to treat them really harshly. You know, you better get out there on that, you know, how I say it, you better, you know, walk them streets and bring them votes home to daddy. You know, they pimp them out. You better do something. You know, once the black masses start to, you know, get rah-rah, they start, you know, their position on the plantation gets real uncomfortable. You understand what I'm saying? Because they understand that they are only in position because of their ability to leverage us, to keep us dependent, to keep us poor, so that they can stay in their position. So I'm rambling at this point. My bad.
No, you dropping it, bro. You're not rambling at all, and you really bringing it to life for the layman or anybody who may not understand that this is exactly how it works. Because even when you said, you know, once they discard our people, we, you know, once the system discard our people, we turn our backs. And I thought of Bill Cosby, and it's funny that that's exactly where you were going with it. Because even with Bill Cosby, we turned our back on him, regardless of how we feel. With all of them allegations that was leveraged against Bill Cosby, only one of them stuck. You know what I'm saying? And that's somebody he had already admitted to having an affair with, and that was already supposed to be for them not even to bring back into court.
Joe Biden threw away an entire generation of black people, destroyed an entire generation of black families.
Yes.
And you got black people coddled up under his nuts right now because he's the man in power. You understand? So that's what I'm saying. It's real slave-like. We have morals when it's convenient. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Hillary wasn't the only one to call us super predators. He called us super predators as well, and was proud of that crime bill that kept us incarcerated. In fact, he bragged, I was the one who wrote the crime bill up. And I was like, wow. But to your point, because he looks like he has the power, we want to coddle to him. But go ahead, brother.
No, that was it. I mean, it's interesting right now watching all the black people that are retroactively justifying the crime bill. They're like, yeah, you know, it was wild back then. Black people wanted the crime bill. Like, come on, man. Like, there was plenty of black people who stood in opposition to the crime bill, but because you're a slave and because you want to justify being under your master's nuts, you want to now say, back then, you know, I would have voted for it too. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these people the loops that they have to jump through in order to minimize any dissonance that they have. It's insane. You understand what I'm saying? So, but I'm gonna stop, man. Let's build. You know, we can keep talking about the doc. We can talk about whatever.
That's what's up. And you know, I'm glad that you brothers touched on that, because right now, as we said, you know, Pennsylvania is playing a key role in this election right now. You know, all eyes on PA right now. So, and it is the home of the boule. And when I saw, man, it took a lot for me not to kick my computer screen. I'm gonna tell you that right now, watching this documentary, to hear not Michael Court, yeah, but him too. But you know, when are we gonna be done with Dr. Carr? I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. And what bothers me the most, brother, is, as you said, right now, these black elite are in a lot of trouble. And this is why they're pushing out these scare tactics, because they're going to pull the wool, just like they did with Angela Rye. You know, what's her name? Simone Sanders is in trouble right now. Joy Reid is in trouble right now. You know, Don Lemon is in trouble right now. All of these black faces in high places is in trouble right now, because they see that they are struggling right now with the black vote, because, you know, as it may be, a lot are pulling away from it. A lot of us are finally getting to see that this is not the way to go. And as I said on our program, I do follow my ancestors. I do. I don't know which ones y'all following, but I do follow my ancestors. And they told me clearly this is not the way to go. And I'm telling you from someone who was a part of a black-led, black-financed, independent black party here in New York City. I can tell you the shenanigans that they will pull. You know, even if you try to form an independent black political party, we witnessed it right here in New York. We did everything that we were asked to do, got as many signatures and then some as we were asked to do, and then to have the governor and the attorney general pull it is unbelievable. And I ask people all the time, you know, for those of you who are voters, you have to ask yourselves, why is it that this duopoly continues to push out voices of other political mediums? Now, I'm not supporting the Green Party, Libertarian Party, none of that. However, if it is a democratic process, why is it that these other parties are X'd out, especially from debates, media commentary, and things like that? If you can, could you give some insight as to why that is happening?
So I wanna definitely address your first question about Dr. Greg Carr, because for me that's probably been the most disappointing like aspect of this entire project, right? Because Dr. Carr has always been somebody who like I greatly like admired. You understand what I'm saying? You know how they say like, you know, never meet your heroes. You understand what I'm saying? Because you might end up being disappointed. Like I felt like Dr. Carr, you know, when we talk about like that generation of like master teachers, right? Yeah, you know, Marimba Anis, your John Henry Clarks, your Joseph Benyakinins, like Dr. Carr is their progeny. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, he, you know, set at their feet, so to speak. And in terms of like, you know, modern day historians and the whole like African centered movement, like Dr. Carr is like, you know, the top of the grass. So I reached out to Dr. Carr and I told him two things. I said, one, like, Dr. Carr, you always going to be the most brilliant our historian of our time. Like hands down, like, you know, you have that. Nobody can take that from you. But your politics, bro, they leave a lot to be desired. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that what happens is, I think that over time we start to put ourselves in these trick bags, you know, when we think that we playing chess with Satan, when really, you know, the devil is really just playing us, but somehow, you know, we think that we being politically astute by choosing one evil over the other, you know, when the reality is you still getting in bed with evil. And after a while, you know, you put yourself in that stream, you're going to get pulled further and further out to sea. And these are, you know, brothers and sisters that have been in that stream for quite a long time. So what I was doing really with this documentary was this was like a come to Jesus moment. Like, yo, you either need to have a quickening or you know, you need to just, you know, be put out the pasture, so to speak, because everything that you've been doing, the posture that you've been like angling yourself, you know, towards the grassroots community, bro, like has not been a good one, right? So like I felt like I had to say something, and I tried to say it as respectful as possible. Like even with the graphics, so a lot of people was like, well, what are you trying to say with the graphics? Why you got everybody on there with their eyes blacked out? And I had to, I didn't break it down for everybody, but I'll break it down for y'all right now. Back in the day when we grew up, there used to be a music video from Bone Thugs and Harmony called "See You at the Crossroads." And in that video, when he said, "Oh man, I miss my Uncle Charles," right? And the demon touched Uncle Charles' eyes went black, right? So when I put everybody on that joint in black, what I was saying is that we as a community like are at a crossroads. And when you listen to the speech at the end of the documentary, I say we as Black America are at a crossroads. How long are we going to be misled by the politically blind who are looking to reform the plantation? Like I'm calling it out right there, so I'm doing it respectfully, so they can choose to engage and have dialogue, or they can take it personal. Either way, like I'm not going to stop, because, like I said, the stakes at this point are too high. So, you know, I reached out to Dr. Carr. I even invited him. I invited him to the Remaking Black Power Summit last weekend, because I said, you know what, we can have whatever positions at the table, and you can defend your position. I won't even be at the table, but at least you can put your position on the table instead of, you know, browbeating or being condescending to the generation that's coming behind you. And if I'm being real, that's the energy that I felt. So I didn't, I said I'm going to address it head on. Like I'm not going to tiptoe. I'm not going to dance around it. I'm going to address it head on because you're being very condescending, and it's in a way like, this is a whole generation behind you that have held you in such high regard. But now politically, I said this to my brother the other day. I had a long conversation about the documentary, and I said Warren Buffett has this quote where he says, he's talking about financial markets, and he says, you never know who's swimming naked until the tide comes in. What that basically means is, people out there in the ocean, but when the tide come in, you see who ain't wearing no clothes. Well, it's the same thing politically. You don't know who's who until you have moments like this when everybody is exposed and everybody's hand is shown for like who they are. So I feel like this moment has exposed a lot of people. A lot of people have put themselves in boxes. And from my perspective right now, if you put yourself in a box, and it's probably my responsibility to dig the hole and throw some dirt on you. Like that's kind of like where I'm at right now. If you put yourself in the wrong box, and at this point in our movement.
So, brother, let me ask you real quick. Because just like Bed-Stuy has been a hub for Black nationalism and activism, so has Philly. And with the murder of Walter Wallace, what is the temperature like out there in Philly right now? Because there was a mini riot here in Brooklyn, over the death of Walter Wallace. And from my understanding, the family don't want to charge the police officers with murder. Now, is that correct, or is that misinformation that I got?
Oh man. So to answer your first question, what is the temperature like? I mean, like Philly is the home of the protest movement. You understand what I'm saying? So that was actually so if you tuned in last weekend to the Remaking Black Power Summit, we had two panels. We had one roundtables. We had one on Friday night and one on Saturday night. We had Baba Imhotep on the one on Friday, along with Baba Sekou Odenga, Empress Filet, Minister Rodney Muhammad, like a whole slew of strong Black nationalist voices. But the question that we asked was, for the past 40 or 50 years, the Black nationalist community has been accused of sitting on the sidelines when it comes to the protest movement, right? So we asked the question, how should we engage when our community, or how should we respond to state-induced trauma in our community, right? When police, are killing us. And I think the resounding response is that we have to be organized in a fashion where we can exact, a penalty, when things like that occur. Like the fact is, we weren't organized to the point that the mother had to call the police because there was nobody else in the community. There was no organized formation in the community that she could call as an alternative, right? Or not even as an alternative, right? Because the police should be the alternative. We should be the primary, right? So these are the things that we were speaking to. So we really put the responsibility on us for what's happening and the fact that we haven't organized ourselves to that point where we can make that happen, right? So now that's what a lot of the movement is about, because now you have to move beyond discussion to program. How do we put the program in place? How do we bring the bodies on board to make it happen? So as a nationalist, these are the conversations that we are having right now and the work that we're looking to get done, because we're not trying to engage the situation in the way that the BLM and the Marxists and the socialists, the way that they are engaging the situation. That's not us. We see that as somewhat counterproductive. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that that's the issue that we're having right now. Now, in terms of the second part of your question about his family, and man, Philly, man, it's a very I don't put no fault on his mother, or his father or the family.
Right.
But what I will say is the dude, who was it? Attorney Shaka Johnson. So Shaka Johnson, if you're from Philly, like he's a defense attorney. Like what he's known for is beating bodies. You know what I mean? That's what he's known for. You catch a body, you get Shaka Johnson. He's known for getting a few dudes off of their bodies. That's what he's built a reputation for. So when I saw him representing the family in a civil case, I'm like, first of all, that didn't pass the smell test. Like, it was a red flag right away. Like, why is he representing the family? But then when I heard him speaking at the first, press conference, and he sounded like he was representing the police, I'm like, oh man, fix is in. You know what I mean? Like right away, I'm like, man, like I mean, like it's always disgusting, even when you see Ben Crump do it. But like I said, Philly is a whole other animal. It's like these dudes ain't really got no morals, man. Like it's ugly, man. It's ugly. Like my first exposure to and you know Empress Filet, I'm pretty sure y'all have had her on here, and she can tell you all about the history of Philly and some of these Negroes, you know, in this town. But my first exposure was when I was 19, 20, 21. I was working with a group called Men United for a Better Philadelphia. So that was my first opportunity to see how the local politicians interface with the grassroots community and the non-for-profit. And what I saw, man, just like turned my stomach. It's disgusting. You know, it's a den of thieves and prostitutes, and they ain't even got no like. Listen, man, like they don't even have the intelligence or the finesse to even do it for something for real. Like they be finessing for like $1,000, like you know, a steak at Ruby Tuesdays. They'd be like, you're selling your people out for pennies. Like it's disgusting in Philly, yo. So when I seen that press conference, like right away, I was just like, man, like, you know, it is what it is. That was my response to the situation.
And you know, I definitely want to give my condolences to the Wallace family. You know, it's always hard to lose a loved one, particularly someone who's already dealing with you know, mental health issues. You know, and that's why I had to ask, because sometimes it's passive, you know, it's just us being passive, and sometimes, you know, for whatever the family's reasons may be, you know, maybe they felt it wasn't murder. You know, I can't call it. I'm not out in Philly. I'm not out there. You know, it's just for those of us that's sitting on the sidelines, you know, because a lot of times we like to think we're frontline, and many times we are frontline in our own communities. But each family have their own dilemmas and situations they have to deal with. So I've learned in this movement, you know, sometimes everything ain't what it appears to be. You know what I mean? Because whatever that family's going through, whatever that family may see, it may not be fit for the officers to be charged with murder. I can't call it. That wasn't my child, you know, whatever, you know. So again, condolences, because I think sometimes, even within our movements, we're hard on each other without really understanding each other's position. And to your point, you know, you gave Dr. Carr an opportunity to state his position, which he chose not to, but that's a whole nother story. There's a lot of assumptions, and there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of egos and jealousy that goes on. You know, sometimes we'll see a brother like you're doing great work. You know, someone may come along and try to minimize it. Not saying that they will. And I think a lot of times this is the problem. And as Garvey said, you know, we're cursed with petty differences. Because a lot of things that we're trying to do now in the new millennium, we have already done. We've already, I mean, the UNIA has proven that we've been organized around the world, you know, with our own security in place, our own nurses and doctors in place to take care of us. We've had our own businesses and things like that. So I guess I say all that to say that in your synopsis, moving in the new millennium, what is it going to take for us to properly organize? I mean, because you're in Philly, we're here in Brooklyn. Shout out to Baba Imhotep, who's out there in Baltimore, and we got folks all around the country that we all stay in contact with as much as possible. How do we really make that a cohesive network that we could really build on and really strengthen our nation?
I think that so one of the things I tweeted this out the other day. I said that what was the tweet? I said you have to localize your organizing and internationalize your struggle. And what that essentially means is you have to impact and influence right where you are. You understand what I'm saying? Like if there are people who are doing grassroots work in the city where you are from, you got to tap in with them and figure y'all can all maintain y'all autonomy. Y'all can be y'all, you know, independent entities, whatever it is, but y'all have to find a way how to share resources and collaborate to impact the community that we're in, right? Because one of the things that Baba Sekou said last week on the call was like, we got to stop looking at ourselves as organizations and really start to look at ourselves as a people, right? And when you do that, you have organizations that serve the people, but it just changes your lens, or like the angle in which you position yourself towards organizing. So first and foremost, in order for it to make it happen, like it don't make no sense. Like Baba Imhotep is doing great things
Yes, he
in
is.
Baltimore, right? But if I'm not doing anything in Philly and I'm just trying to link up with Baba Imhotep, like I'm just gonna be dead weight. If I'm not doing anything where I am, and then I see Baba Imhotep doing his thing, and I'm like, yo, bro, like, what's going on? Is reaching out just to have conversations, and I want to be in your space. Like, well, what are you doing? You understand what I'm saying? So first and foremost, you got to do something where you are. So if you in Brooklyn, you should be doing work in Brooklyn, right? Baba Imhotep's in Baltimore. I'm in Philly. We got to be working locally. So organize locally, localize your organizing, and internationalize your struggle. So basically, once you have these formations that are working together at the local level, then that can be raised up to the regional level, coastal level. You understand what I'm saying? And because what we often try to do is we try to like create the organization and then follow it up with the activity instead of allowing the activity to create the organization. You understand what I'm saying? So you got those of us who are working. Perfect. I'll give you a perfect example in Philly right now. Now we hoping that this thing will grow, but it's something called the Diasporic Black Nationalist Coalition. Now, this basically came to fruition because we said, hey, there ain't that many people in Philly that are organizing from like a black nationalist perspective, meaning like we outnumbered the protesters, the popular protest movement, everybody's involved with that. But the grassroots, self-finance, Garveyite, Pan-African revolutionary nationalists, that movement, we are really isolated. But, or should I say we're insulated? Maybe I'll say, well, we're insulated, but we shouldn't be isolated from one another. So, Brother Shamari, Brother Tommy, Sister V, Brother Carlton Jones, Brother BF and Krumah, they say, yo, we should create something that allows those of us who are organizing from a nationalist perspective to at least connect and figure out how we can share resources and work together. So out of that, the Diasporic Black Nationalist Coalition was formed. Now we all still working, but now we're trying to figure out a way, how do we work together as a collective? And that's how the network grows, right? I see what Baba Imhotep's doing in Baltimore, so I'll pick up the phone. Baba Imhotep, I'm having this thing. I want you to be a part of it because what you're doing is important. So as what my thing, as what I'm doing, as my thing grows, eventually the space that I operate on is going to grow. So that means eventually our borders are going to be touching one another. So I need to know who my neighbor is. My neighbor down in Baltimore, my neighbor in Delaware, because our influence is going to be growing. So you have to plan for this, and the way that you do it is you always look up to see who the fuck. I mean, I don't want to curse. You always look up. You look up to see who's laboring on the field beside me. You gotta know who you working among. So when you see somebody doing work, it's like, okay, I gotta connect with that brother, even if it's just to get that brother or that sister a nod to say, yo, I see you. Right. We're gonna connect. Keep working. We'll figure out when we're gonna connect. But I just want you to know that I see you, and eventually that connection is going to happen as long as we keep working. So that's my perspective.
An excellent one it is, brother.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that's how I operate. If I don't see you doing nothing, don't come over here. Don't come over here, because we have no time to waste, and I sure enough don't have no time to waste. And I learned a very valuable lesson, in dealing with people who ain't really doing no work, who just have lip service. So I learned a very valuable lesson, So I went back to trusting my gut, and I'm going to rock with that. But something I wanted to go back really quick before we end this, talking about the shooting of Brother Wallace out there in PA. And shout out to my family who lives out there in Philly. Shout out to y'all. But, the reaction from the family, as Brother Taz says, We really can't call it because that's not us. We're not in that situation. We don't know their mindset, whatever. The problem I have is that it's not a shooting. It's not just the shooting of Mr. Wallace. It is psychological trauma of Black African people that is continuous. And this must be brought to the fore. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but I'm going to say it. We need Black attorneys, Black law firms to fight on our behalf. We are suffering tragically here, and nobody's even looking at that component. These attorneys who come to these families for these civil settlements on behalf of the states or cities or municipalities where these tragic events happen aren't considering the fact that this is a traumatic effect, on the entire community. I know children under the age of 13 who are traumatized when they see police officers, who get nervous when they see police officers. These are babies. And so this is bigger than just a physical shooting of one said victim. The entire community is a victim, and that's the way I see it. That's the way I've always seen it. And so when I see these attorneys who come out and they know better, I don't know Mr. Shaka Johnson. I don't know him. But I do know he knows better, that this is not the way to go. However, the powers that be, they will bring that hammer down on you when you don't have a backing. And that's where the people come in, because the way I see this should happen is that the people of Philly should put pressure on Shaka Johnson, Attorney Johnson, that you operate in the best interest of the people, or else we will shut you down. You will not try another case in the city.
Let me say real quick, because I think as a part of my maturity, you know what I mean, and my growth, I do have to understand that although I'm organizing from, a Black nationalist perspective, that I still have to give credit where credit is due to folks who may be organizing in the protest movement. So in Philly, you do have what's referred to as the Black Radical Collective, and that's made up of several organizations. Pam Africa is heavily involved with them. Empress Filet may be involved with them, but I know my brother Gabe Bryant is involved. So in terms of like protesting and putting pressure, that's not my thing, but they phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like getting the community organized. Like there's a brother in Philly right now that was recently kidnapped by the federal government, brother Ant Smith. They put charges on him, said that he firebombed the police vehicle. Now, it doesn't matter if our politics are not aligned. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm it's like as I'm growing, I don't even know how to all the way like express this, because like I'm very like stingy like with my space, so to speak. You understand what I mean? Like but what I'm really trying to say is that there are brothers and sisters who are operating from like a protest, a socialist, a Marxist perspective, and I may not agree with their analysis. I may not agree like with their tactics, but I have to still acknowledge that we fight in the same enemy, but we just coming at it from a different perspective. You coming at it from a perspective where you believe that you can reform the enemy. You believe that you can pressure the enemy to giving you justice. I don't believe that. So I'm coming at it from a different perspective, but I have to recognize that we still on the same side of the barricade. It's just that your battle plan and your tactics are different from mine. So that being said, we have to build bridges with those brothers and sisters too, but we can't because their orbit, right, their gravitational pull is so strong because there's so much energy and activity that's happening right there. We have to be able to support them without getting pulled into their orbit and getting knocked off our square, right? We still got to be focused on the institution building, the protection, the feeding, the housing, the clothing. Like as a nationalist, we got to, you know, from a separatist perspective, like, yeah, we got to do that, but we can't completely write off, you know what I mean, like that, you know, that other side of the body, even though their analysis, we may feel as though their analysis is incorrect, right? So I think that as I mature, I'm trying to figure out how to navigate that, because it's not easy to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's an old saying. They say that uh what is it? Methods are many, principles are few. Methods may change, but principles never do. So people who I'm like, I have like if principally like we just can't align, then you can't mix oil with water, and I ain't gonna try to force that. But I don't know. Like, I'm trying to tease this thing out right here live, and
Nah,
it's hard to do. But I hope
I
y'all
get
get
what
what I'm
you're saying.
trying to say.
Nah, because
I do. I get what you're saying.
we
I do.
talk about that too, you know, because like you're saying, you know, if our principles align, we could rock, even if the methods may be different, you know, because if we're fighting to get free, then by all means, some people fight in the courtroom, some people fight in the street, some people fight in the boardroom. But as long as we're fighting in that place that we're skilled at fighting, you know what I'm saying? Because some folks aren't fighting at all, or some folks are fighting, but they have no principles. And they don't want to get free. They just jockeying for a position of power within the institution, you know, so they can just turn their back on us, you know what I'm saying, when it's convenient for them, like we see so many do. Some people, you know, will sacrifice their life to save a nation. Some people sacrifice the nation to save themselves.
Yeah, so I wanna respond to Empress Filet. Like, I appreciate her saying that, because I say that, sister Keisha, you seen the documentary, so you see what I'm talking about. I was attempting to organize, but I realized really quick that
Right, I didn't want to give that away.
yeah. So like so the fact that she brought that up, I appreciate her bringing that up. So I just wanted, it's weird, and I'm trying to so you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to navigate this here, but that's why I said, as long as your principles, because like I said, oil and water don't mix. So if your principles, like, and I only brought that up because you mentioned like people putting pressure on the system. I wanted to acknowledge that there is a protest community here in Philly, and there are some brothers and sisters who are respecting that community. I'm not a part of like the whole protest, because a lot of their politics don't necessarily align with mine. So that's what I was trying to say in a very long form way.
I feel you, brother. And again, shout out to Dr. Flay, who's in the chat. One more thing we have to touch on, or try to touch on, before we let you go. Again, family, you see the scroll at the bottom of your screen. The link is there. All you got to do is put in an Un-American Dilemma. It's going to come right up. Purchase it, $9.99 to rent, $19.99 to purchase. In my humble opinion, you should purchase it because you want to refer to things, especially if you aren't as politically astute. It can help you in your argument, in your stance, and in your very perspective, you know, on how you want to operate, move through this thing. So again, check that out, family. But before we let you go, because it's something that you touched on earlier, you know, people talk about sympathizing with Biden's crime bill, as bad as it was in the 80s and the 90s. Well, right now, in the 2020, the table has flipped. Meth is on a rise like crazy and never before, and so is heroin. And in the film, you mentioned a section of Philly being the Walmart of heroin and what's going on. And shout out to Sister Marie, is definitely similar to B-More. And I have spent some time in B-More as well. But if you could touch on that, brother, please do so.
Oh yeah. I don't know how many people know this, but for a long time, Philly has had like the record as like the heroin capital of the United States. A lot of people might not know this, but so it's always been bad. You understand what I'm saying? But like right now, like the way that things are, I didn't want to. I didn't put that in the film to trivialize or to put it there for like shock value. I put it there because it was important for people to see, like, this is a modern a city, you know, a so-called modern America and a modern American democracy, so to speak. And the reason why I put it there, because there's a part towards the middle with sister Keisha, you've already seen it, but where Robert F. Williams is talking about when he visited Philly back in 1979 and what he experienced. So like I wanted to put people in the mind frame of what things are like in the city. So with it being right now, Philly is the number 2 most deadliest city in the nation, but in 2007 we were the number 1. Just to put it in context for you, the amount of homicides that we have in the city right now are more than we had in 2007. Right, for the entire year in 2007, Philly was the murder capital in 2007. For we on October the 5th or October the 6th of 2020, we surpassed the homicide count that we had for the entire year of 2007 when we were the number 1 in the whole country. So I was just trying to bring people into understanding what's happening. And another part, there's a part in there where I'm talking about Philly being the most corrupt city in the entire nation. That's another record that we hold that people don't know. But it's very interesting because we're looking at the election right now, and that's what Trump and his team are pointing out. Right, Rudy Giuliani was in Philly yesterday, and he had a press conference, and he said, you know, Philly is one of those cities where you still have an old corrupt machine in place. Literally, he could have I could have ghost wrote that for him, although I didn't because I ain't got no parts with them. But I'm just saying, if you watch the documentary, there's a scene in the barbershop where I say the same thing word for word. I say in the documentary, there's a part where I mentioned. Y'all may or may not know this, but the biggest drug haul in U.S. history was at the Philadelphia port. And the vessel was owned by J.P. Morgan Chase. More than $1 billion in cocaine pulling up to the port in Philadelphia. So when I was speaking to the corruption, nobody is bringing that much product through any port in America without somebody on the other side being prepared to receive it. Right? Like you're not going to leave nothing to chance. You're not going to leave it to chance that the local police going to pull you over. You're not going to leave it to chance that customs, nothing is going to be left to chance with that much product coming through, a port. So the fact that they felt comfortable bringing that much product to the port lets you know all you need to know about the city. So when you have a section of the city like this on The Wire, the movie The Wire that used to be on HBO.
Yeah.
They had this part where basically drug addicts were able to just do, whatever they wanted to do.
Amsterdam. They called that Amsterdam.
Listen, bro, Kensington, they call it Kensington Beach in Philly. It's Amsterdam.
Wow.
There's an Instagram page and a Facebook and a YouTube page. They call it Kensington Beach. All it is photos and video of that area. And if you look at it, you won't believe that you're looking at like a modern, American city. And this is what our people are coming out their front doors to. You understand? So I went off way on a tangent, but that's the part that you wanted me to touch on.
Definitely. Again, brother, thank you for coming in, family. Please check out the documentary. The link is in the chat. You see it going across your screen. Go to VMO.com, put in an an un-American dilemma. You see it right there across your screen. Again, go to the Thorough Black Talk. That's a book.
So
go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The name of the documentary, Un-American Dilemma, was based upon the book An American Dilemma, The Negro Problem in Modern Democracy. There's 2 volumes of this that was created in the 1940s. And there's a section that I read a long time ago that just talked about black politics and why it's so difficult for black people to form a political bloc. And it was talking about the corruption and the amount of sellouts that we have in the community. So when I started seeing all this debate, I said, okay, I'm going to call this the Un-American Dilemma. So that's where the title of the documentary came from. It came from that book. So instead of calling it an American, I'm gonna call it un-American, because when somebody say that you a traitor or you unpatriotic or you are treasonous, they're saying you're un-American. So I'm like, okay, well, this is the un-American dilemma. Why? Because Malcolm was un-American. Garvey was un-American. Huey was un-American. Asada is un-American. So like, I'm going to put it out there. This is the un-American dilemma. So that's why I wanted to call it that.
Excellent. Excellent.
I love it. I love it. I love it, brother. Again, family, you got to check it out. Please go to Thorough Black Talk Radio's Facebook page. Download the trailer. Takes you right to the link on demand. Purchase it, rent it, but you got to see it. You got to take your time with it, especially if you aren't politically astute. Again, brother, thank you for coming in. We got to bring you back on because there's a whole book page of questions I had and we can't even get to right now. So
Yo,
definitely, brother.
I would love to come back. I just want to say first and foremost, Brother Taz, Sister Keisha, I appreciate y'all having me as y'all guests and helping me, get the word out there. To all the family that is watching, Baba Jalil Muntakim, who just was released after serving 49 years of of unjust imprisonment.
Oh, wow.
They are threatening to arrest him again and violate him for saying that he registered to vote, and they trying to violate him for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a link to a petition that Baba Sekou Odenga has created, and he's asking all of the community to sign it. So I'm going to drop the petition in the chat. If y'all can sign this petition for Baba Jalil, please share it across social. I would really appreciate that.
Definitely. Oh, sis, we can't hear you.
Oh, also, brother, as you put that in the chat, please send it to me in Messenger, and I will definitely make sure that gets out. I'll put it in email blast and all of that. Again, brother, thank you for coming in. Family, we love you. This is our brother from another mother. We definitely going to have him back on again. And again, thank you to Brother Alias and Brother Bomani, because this community has allowed a lot of us to connect and learn and grow from each other and figure out how we can get our people through this maze and become victorious once and for all. So again, brother, salute to you. Thank you. Peace to you and your family. And stay safe out here. Stay safe out there.
Yes, stay safe, brother.
Y'all do the same, all right?
All right.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Brother Marcia, we see we got your crew in here. UNIA is in the building.
All right.
Marcia, I don't want no smoke. We got your crew in the building.
So before I leave, because I don't know if you read the whole bio, former president UNIA Division 121, current vice president or vice Shanuti of Afrocentricity International's Philly chapter. But shout out to the UNIA. Still a lot of love, respect for many of my elders in the UNIA. But shout out.
Definitely. All right, family. Again, it's been real. Y'all got to come back next week. More fire, more flames. We always keep it thorough. We want y'all to stay safe. Watch your back, your front, and your side. This time, a lot of messages are being thrown out. There are things that we've discussed on this platform many times. Please stay aware. Please stay focused. Please stay in your best health. And Brother Tag, when you close out, please let our brothers and sisters know when is the next financial literacy streaming, so that our brothers and sisters can please get that information. Because when it comes to financial literacy, that's another thing, we suffering from right now.
Definitely.
Thank you, Brother Omawale. You stay safe, my brother.
Peace, brother. Yeah, and family, please, everybody, if you don't buy the documentary, at least rent it, because we plan on having the brother back in a few weeks so we can have a discussion about it, what we see, things we may have missed, things we picked up on, how we can implement it, because again, this is a community effort, all right? So please support our brother, rent the documentary, buy it, and we'll have him back in a few weeks, and we can have y'all all ask some questions. And again, coming this Sunday will be We Can Breathe Part 2. This is be a discussion of financial literacy. We'll have our brother Mbwebe Ishangi on there speaking about his new book, A Pot to Pissin. We'll have financial planner Joy Jackson, bank manager Cassandra Gordon, business entrepreneur and lawyer Pam Hamilton. We'll have our sister Jessica Abina Marshall of Natural Hair Care Products, Natural Hair Care Locks I forget how to say her business, but please forgive me, Sister Jessica. But she'll be there as well, and she's also a licensed therapist, because we definitely have to approach it from a mental wellness position too. Myself, my sister Jane Duru, and if I'm forgetting anybody, blame it on the brain, not the heart. All right, but that's going down November 8th. That's this Sunday at 3 p.m. on Zoom. You can check my Facebook page. You can check my Better Days Ahead fitness page. Tag Cromwell on Facebook, Better Days Ahead Fitness on Facebook, and the poster, the flyer be there, as well as we'll be posting it here on Thorough Black Talk. So hopefully you were inspired by what you heard tonight. So now it's your turn to go out and inspire others. So y'all stay blessed, stay up, stay blessed, stay true. And remember, no matter how hard things may seem right now, there's always better days ahead. Sister Keisha.
That's what's up. I can't say nothing more, but you know how we do it. We keep it thorough. You keep it thorough. We out, y'all. Have a